All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about basically heavy metals, certain diseases in the body, and how efficient your body really is. And basically, here's the most important thing: if you knew how efficient your body really is, okay, you wouldn't get in its way so much. You know what I'm saying? And basically, when we look at certain things such as heavy metals and like such as iron and how all that type of stuff rusts, and it all deals with the red color frequency and whatnot. Here's the thing with the iron. It's just like when you have carbohydrates, okay, there's good carbohydrates and there's bad carbohydrates. When you have bad carbohydrates, you already know the type of detriment that it does to your body. But when you have good carbs that you get from fruits and natural food, then you already know that that's basically useful for the body. And I look at the word carbohydrates, I see the word carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. Okay, now when you have heavy metals such as iron in the presence of carbon, okay, then you basically know that you have oxidation that's going to happen, and there's many different elements that combine with iron that makes it an unnatural or inorganic mineral. Okay, because iron that comes from certain foods is very useful to the body, because see, if we don't get the right amount of iron, then you develop certain things such as anemia, which is the lack of red blood cell formation. And that is also tied into your absorption of B12 in your body, which is basically a bacteria in and of itself. All right, so when you look at the color red is a frequency, okay? And when you talk about leafy greens, so people say I'm going to eat certain colors to, basically influence certain chakras and whatnot. So if I eat leafy greens, I'm influencing my heart chakra and whatnot. But also look at the vitamins and the elements that are in the minerals that are in these leafy greens. And, based on letters and whatnot, you also have numerology. But, when you have the colors of certain elements, then you can actually see how that is influencing and working in conjunction with your other chakras. You know what I'm saying? Basically, when you look at something deteriorating or breaking down, okay, it's the same way it happens in nature. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of the times stuff that we eat don't belong in there, and it actually affects your gut microbiome, and it affects the natural chemistry of your body. So what's happening is exactly how it works in the soil. You have healthy bacteria in the soil that is basically working like an ecosystem, okay? And one feeds something else and breaks it down to the point where it becomes more bioavailable to something else, okay? So when you have, certain things such as, enemas and colonics and whatnot, these things people are doing just because somebody else told them, okay? You have to understand, when it comes down to enemas and colonics and whatnot, you do these things when you absolutely need them. If you're in a really diseased state to the point where you have to do a liver or gallbladder flush to get these kidney stones or liver stones or gallbladder stones out of your system, then it is important to do a colon cleanse. And when you do a colon cleanse in the form of a drip irrigation or a colon cleanse, such as an enema, then it is important to do that in order for you to be able to flush these things out of your system so they're not in your system. And, when you take certain things such as, the Epsom salt, which is basically magnesium sulfate, when you're doing the liver and gallbladder flush, the magnesium relaxes the tubes in which all this is able to excrete out of your body. You know what I'm saying? So you basically want to aid in that process by doing the drip irrigation and cleaning all that out. Now, the reason I'm not really all for everybody doing enemas or colon cleanses and whatnot in that type of way is because I look at it the same way. When you have the soil in the garden, the soil will condition itself. All you need to do is just basically start eating the right foods. You know what I'm saying? When you start eating the right foods, you start populating it now with the right microbiome and the right bacteria. All right. A lot of the times when you disturb the soil, this is not good for the beneficial microbes or the mycelium network that I've been talking about in my previous videos, all underground, that you don't want to disturb, which is basically a network of information that gets passed on from one plant to another. You do not want to disturb that. But in order for you to keep that healthy, you also need to make sure that you're putting the right type of organic matter on top, not synthetic shit from like Lowe's or, Walmart or whatnot. So the important thing here to realize is that if you're give me 1 second. So the important thing to realize here is that if you're going to start to disturb the ecosystem within you, you need to make sure that you're actually eating good afterwards and be very knowledgeable of what you're going to be ingesting, because now it's about looking at your body like a big bag of bacteria. There's the way to do this that's very, very easy is, for example, not falling into a religious mind state on what you should be eating, such as like, I can't eat meat because, see, here's the thing with meats. Your body, okay, can basically you could eat anything you want, except when we cook it, we completely denature and destroy the nutrients in the foods that we're eating, such as meat. See, the meat is hard for the body to process when it's cooked, but if it's raw, it's even more tougher for the body to digest. So what would one do? Would one just drink the blood of the animal, or would you just eat the meat, but then fast for at least 24 to 48 hours to fully let that process in the body? Because it's all about how your body really processes what you're putting in. You're processing things in order to extract the nutrients that the body needs. But if you're always eating, what you're doing is you stop the body from having to process what it was originally processing, which is it's like downloading a very large file in your computer. You want to let that file download first before you open it up or, download something else. So if you're eating stuff that's very easy for the body to process, then okay, then you can, not like liquids and whatnot. Basically, you can use these as cleansers because they're just basically water foods and they're keeping you hydrated. They're also flushing out the system of inorganic minerals, because fruits actually have distilled water in it. See, we drink distilled water from the supermarkets. We start to worry about the plastics and whatnot, which is really not that important, you know what I'm saying, unless you put your mind into it. But when you eat fruits, the distilled water in it also has a cleansing effect on the body, which is why guys like Dr. Morse tells you to eat grapes, melons, and it's basically it's 95 to 100% water food. I mean, you're basically flushing your system out with that. You know what I'm saying? And you're reintroducing your body with the right minerals. But the distilled water in there is actually flushing out the inorganic minerals in there also. You know what I'm saying? So when you're doing things such as alcohols or turpentine or enemas and stuff like that, you need to do it with a certain level of intellect and know what you're doing. You don't just do it because somebody else told you to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because it is important to know that you can't keep your insides super clean, because when you do that, you're actually flushing out the good bacteria in there. You might as well start doing antibiotics. This is the point of antibiotics. But when you do antibiotics, you know what I'm saying, you completely destroy everything and start to really alter the body's natural chemistry, which does even more harm. Okay? Now, I'm not saying enemas or, colon cleanses or anything is bad. They're not bad. You just need to know what you're doing. If you're going to do them and then go and start eating dirty again, then you're going to actually do more harm than good, because what you're doing is you're actually flushing out certain microbes in there that are actually helping you in breaking down shit that your body can't even break down. You know what I'm saying? So you need to start eating differently if you're going to do that. All right? Which is why certain people don't even feel good after they do it. You know what I'm saying? And everything is basically information. When you're putting something into your body, look at it as information. Look at it as, what would this do to the bacteria in my body? If me eating these Cheetos, would I put that in my soil? If me eating this fried ass chicken, would I put that in my soil? How is that going to interfere with the microbiome in the soil? If the water is basically what these microbes and everything depend on, like I have compost bins, and I basically add browns, I add greens, and then I add organic food matter. But then you also want to make sure you're not adding in certain cooked foods in there, like cooked meats and all that, because that doesn't really do well for the compost like raw organic food would do. And if I am going to add meats, at least they should be raw. You know what I'm saying? And not cooked. Here's the funny part. So dogs and wolves and cats, they can eat meat with the bones in it, and they can actually metabolize that because they have the acids to break that down. But how crazy is it that when you cook meat and you give it to the animal, it is very harmful to the animal. And you can't even give them the bone after the meat or the chicken or whatever was cooked, because now the bone is not even the same as when it was raw. So if you give them the bones out of a cooked piece of meat or chicken or whatever, now you can actually cut the insides of this animal's digestion, because the bones now were chemically changed. The genetic you completely denatured the natural form of what this bone was. So the animals can actually break it down when it's raw, but when it's cooked, they cannot break it down anymore. So it's very dangerous to give a dog or an animal any kind of bones that were cooked. You get what I'm saying? So if it's hard for an animal who has very high digestive acids, how detrimental do you think it is for the human body to do it? Now, it's easier to process the meat or eat the meat when it's cooked. You get what I'm saying? But the crazy thing here is that it becomes way too acidic, and the information now is altered. So now it's not good information for the body to process. Don't even look at it only as, it breaking it down. You know what I'm saying? Which is hard to break down. And you know what's crazy is that certain times when you talk to people and they don't understand what the fuck you're saying, you're like, all right, let me break it down for you. You're making it more bioavailable for them. You know what I'm saying? So when you're eating certain foods, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for the body to actually break it down. You know what I'm saying? Because you either don't give it time for it to process, or it was completely changed from its natural state and it became too acidic, or it completely denatured the whole process of what's going on, so the body can't actually read it no more. It became a corrupt file. Now, proteins, for example, do you notice how when you talk to people and you tell them, hey, I'm eating a lot of fruits and whatnot, or, mainly my diet consists of a lot of fruits, the first thing they ask you is what's programmed in them. Well, where are you getting your protein, bro? Where are you getting your protein, bro? Yo, what's up with your protein, though? But where are you getting the protein? You know what I'm saying? Like, the protein is the main thing, which is the funny thing is that your body already consists of over 2 million different types of protein. You know what I'm saying? And if you know what you're doing when you're eating, you can actually program these proteins to work in your favor when you're eating certain micronutrients in your system. And your body doesn't depend on these foreign proteins. It's like a guy who has to, he fucked up his endocrine system based on the foods he was eating or the stress levels or whatever it may be. There's certain choices and decisions he made in his life that messed up his endocrine system. Now he has to depend on external sources of testosterone to actually make him feel better. You know what I'm saying? Where in actuality, these people think that they're going to build muscle off just taking foreign animal protein, when in actuality, protein is a virus, by the way. And I'm going to explain something to you. The fact that people tell you can get salmonella or E. coli and all this shit from raw meat, okay, that's basically a bacteria or a viral infection. You get what I'm saying? But it is not parasitic when you have these salmonella or E. coli things happening, which was discovered in like the 1800s of some kind. Okay? So it's an idea. And people don't eat the raw meat because they think that that's going to cause salmonella or E. coli, which it can if your gut microbiome ain't healthy. So if I just said that E. coli and the salmonella is actually bacterial or viral, and you have the correct gut microbiome in there to actually process and intermingle with the information that's coming into your system, then it can affect you. You know what I'm saying? It can affect you. So it's an idea. You get what I'm saying? But nobody's gut microbiome is on point because of the foods that, you know what I'm saying, that were bought in supermarkets and all these things that we're exposed to, all the toxins and whatnot. So that's the importance of doing these cleanses. But you have to know if you really need these cleanses, or can you do it by just starting to change your diet to something healthier for you. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. When you do enemas or colon cleanses of that kind, it actually makes the transition from eating garbage to eating the right foods, or let's say the favorable food for the body. Then now what you're doing is you're actually cleaning out these bad bacteria, which is called gut yeast, that release these chemicals to make you think you're hungry when you're really not hungry. You get what I'm saying? And then when you start to really connect in that way, you'll start to know that even information you find outside of you, okay, is not really nurturing you the way that it's supposed to. You'll start to see that certain things sound really good, but they're not really nurturing you the way it's supposed to. You get what I'm saying? So you'll start to always feel hungry, like you still need to know more because you didn't get it. But when your gut microbiome is on point, okay, that's why they have the mind to muscle connection, the mind to, to gut connection. It takes proper signals from the brains to the testicle to produce testosterone. That's how your endocrine system is functioning on all levels. You know what I'm saying? Everything is bacteria. Everything is bacteria. And you're a big bag of bacteria. And I was watching one of Dr. Robert Morse's videos, and somebody said, how come you focus more on, cells rather than bacteria or microbes? And Dr. Morse said it's because the cells are bigger. But in actuality, look at it from just as within, so without. It's the same way. You're nothing but a big cell. You know what I'm saying? You're a big cell, and then you have the blood cells and microbiomes within you. But what do you focus on? The whole thing is that when you start to really break it down and compartmentalize it and detail it so much, you kind of lose the whole point. You start to say, oh, now you start to detox one thing. Like when you do detoxes or when you make your body healthy, you want to make your entire body healthy. You're not just trying to focus on one thing. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to focus on everything as one complete unit, one complete world. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, if you're going to cleanse the liver out, you're really cleansing the entire body. You know what I'm saying? Like the liver goes, all the organs go. It's like the organs is what it sounds like. They emit a frequency like the organs in a church. But if one organ is fucked up, what happens? The whole song is off. So you got to look at your body as just emitting one beautiful song. But when one organ is off, the whole song is going to sound distorted. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the whole band depends on all the organs functioning properly, and they all work in harmony with each other. If you look at the vagus nerve is all a network of connection between all the organs all together. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of the same way I look at the mycelium network underneath. It's all information. You know what I'm saying? That gets passed down from underneath all the way up to the tree. And in turn, it's a symbiotic relationship as to what happens when the tree gives those nutrients back to that mycelium network. What do you think happens when we get the sun hitting our skin? Okay? It's feeding something inside of us. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got hormones producing on your skin, the vitamin D, which affects, you know what I'm saying? Calcium absorption, which affects the B12 within you, because if you're deficient in B12, people think they have to take more B12, and it's not about getting more of what you're deficient in. It's finding out why the hell you don't even absorb it to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a B12 deficiency, which B12 is responsible for red blood cell formation, carbohydrate metabolism, neurological functions, natural energy production. So think about this. Where is blood produced? In your bone marrow. You know what I'm saying? So I just spoke about anemia and the iron absorption, you getting it from natural plants. Like the Food and Drug Administration tells you that you need a certain amount of sodium when you don't need that amount of sodium that they're recommending if you're getting the right amount of sodium from your foods in your garden. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's say, for example, you have a piece of celery or beets or like carrots and what they have natural sodium in it. And when you intake just maybe those 3 vegetables, you don't need any more sodium for the entire day because you got the correct kind of sodium for the system. When you get the wrong kind of sodium, then your body is always going to need more of it. Just like carbs. When you eat bad carbs, you notice how your body gets confused and you feel hungry when you're really not hungry. It's just like you got addicted to it. It's the same way with everything else. When it's not made for the body, you're going to want to crave more. But when you eat the foods that are for the body is never going to be hungry because it got the correct nutrients for it to function and be in homeostasis to wherever it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? And start the cleansing process. You detox every night when you sleep. Every night you sleep, you're detoxing. You know what I'm saying? But the whole thing is we break that fast first thing in the morning with garbage, such as like pancakes and, oatmeals and cereals and waffles and muffins. See, these things are not favorable. You know what I'm saying? And your body's detoxing all the way up until like midday. So it's favorable for you to break your fast at midday, which is crazy because when you look at the midday, you look up at the sun, it's at its most high. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at your pineal gland, it's basically in the middle of your head. I've already mentioned in the previous videos where you live in your dome. This is the pineal gland. It's basically where the sun is at 12 noon. 1, 2, it's 3. That's the totality of that number. Then you got your pituitary gland, which is your masculine gland. Your feminine gland. And then that's basically the moon. Look at how the cycles work and look at how the cycles work within you. And you start to see how everything kind of connects outside of you as well. You know what I'm saying? You don't need much of anything outside of you to sustain yourself. Just like nature doesn't need anything. Nature doesn't need man to take care of nature. The body is very efficient. We think we need to go to a doctor. We think we need to do so many things, but it's the only reason we feel like that is because all the plants that we're eating, even vegans or whatnot, and the animals that we're eating, think about the energy of the root of where it's coming from. So the animals that we're eating, first of all, they're not even animals from the wild. You know what I'm saying? They're animals that are in cages and they're domesticated and they're given medications. So they're given hormones, antibiotics, and all this type of stuff. And when we eat that meat, not only are we eating those drugs and chemicals, we're also eating the type of state and condition that that animal was in, and the frequency and vibration of the person who slaughtered that animal. So we're supposed to know how to, if we have to really know how to transmute and transform this energy in order for it to work in our favor. You know what I'm saying? And then when you look at these plants, for example, such as, like, I made an example on my marijuana video on all these plants and all that, okay? All these plants that were brought from other countries, okay? Certain fruits, certain exotic fruits that we're eating, okay? Well, I was talking to Junie, and she was talking about, certain passion fruits. Like, people weren't really interested in even knowing anything about passion fruit up until now, but it's imported from other countries, but in the interest of what? A profit. You know what I'm saying? And what state of being were those people in when they grew that food themselves? Because when I'm growing my garden is feeding off my loving energy and my unconditional love for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and in turn, it's giving me an energy back, and it's giving me fruit that I'm able to. And listen, you know how smart plants are? You could piss on a seed, put a little bit of blood on the seed, or even spit on the seed, and then when that seed germinates and it gives you fruit, it was able to read all your genetic information and all the deficiencies that you have. And believe it or not, the fruits that you eat from that plant will actually fill in all the nutritional gaps that you have, because it was able to read all the information just by you pissing or putting your essence on that seed. Ain't that some shit? Huh? I'm almost done. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's amazing how it works in nature. And then, you know what I'm saying? And the love that you put into that plant. But you see, the fruits that we're getting, we would have to take those seeds down. And this is one of the reasons why they mess with the seeds, is because they don't want us taking those seeds. Because those seeds, basically, when you take a fruit, let's say, and it's not vibrating high because of all the things I just mentioned, when you take that seed and you regrow it from that seed, now you're putting your energy, and it's like a brand new source of programming. You know what I'm saying? So it's not something where it was passed down because you changed it by the way you grew it. You know what I'm saying? It's like marijuana. The marijuana that's sold to everybody, people look at that as a spiritual gateway drug, but all these people that sell it are in the interest of making a profit, and they're in a low vibrational frequency or state, which is why certain people, if they're in a higher vibration and they take weed, you're supposed to be high. But instead, they're being brought down. They get brought down back to a more dense state because of the frequency and vibration that plant was in. So when you grow your own stuff and then you smoke it, it ain't going to give you the same effect that you get from marijuana that you buy out from a drug dealer or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. All right, so that's all I wanted to talk about on this video. I'm going to talk about some other stuff. I hope I covered all the points that I wanted to cover. But yeah, don't look at... You got to look at everything as from the organic and inorganic standpoint of view. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the virus they talk about is man-made virus. You know what I'm saying? If you're eating genetically modified foods, okay, and you're eating a lot of them, and you don't care that you're doing it because you think it ain't going to make a difference, then the genetically modified virus that was man-made and it ain't natural, you're more susceptible to being in frequency to catch something like that, because it's nothing but a thought virus. Okay? It's nothing but a thought virus. But it's easier for you to get into a low vibrational state based on the fear and anxiety they put you in, even though you weren't informed of it being a thought virus, that just the fear and anxiety and of you being in that frequency could attract you to that reality quicker than anything else. So it's just about you making sure you know what state of being and frequency and vibration you're on, making the decision, to a conscious decision to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And be in harmony.